What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. This is The Flash, Season 2, Episode 11, Reverse Flash Returns. And that's exactly what happens. Reverse Flash returns. It was kind of interesting the way they explained it. And it's it kind of messes me up to think about it. If you really think hard about how Harrison Wells explains it at the end is, basically, Eobard Thawne had to return at one point to this timeline. This is how he found out about the Flash, about Barry Allen, about Harrison Wells, about all of this stuff. This is how he found out about it, and then returned back and killed Barry's mom, and then got stuck in the timeline, and then all that stuff. This is where it happened. Yeah. But when you consider the fact that Eddie is dead, so that means Eobard Thawne never went back in time the second time, he also should never have gone back the first time. I have a headache. I'm like, wait, but how does it cancel one event but not the other? When one event happened before the other, you would think that... I don't know. My head hurts thinking about this episode because all the time travel stuff, and yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but the show explains it in a way that is satisfying. It's a way for me to go, okay, so that's how it works. So it was good. It was well explained, so I'll take it. Other than that, though, this also had some very interesting moments for Cisco and for Barry and Patty. Cisco is discovering more about his powers. In fact, Harrison Wells invents this device that can help him see into his visions, into his vibes, because he's able to experience these vibes after a rush of adrenaline. So Harrison Wells creates these goggles that can help him see it all the time. So that's interesting. It's a good little way to actually help him focus his powers and use them when he needs them. So I'm curious to see how often that's going to come into effect and how often he's actually going to use them. Other than that, the Barry and Patty stuff, Patty finally figures out that Barry's the Flash. It did take her a while, and probably took a bit longer than you would have expected, but Barry mentions that he and Joe help S.T.A.R Labs sometimes, and then she starts to realize that something's wrong. Something's up with that, and then she catches Joe off guard and is like, Barry's the Flash, right? And he's just like, what? No. She's like, you're a terrible liar, and calls him out on it. Tries to get Barry to tell her that he's a Flash, but he doesn't. He decides, I can't reveal this to her. This is somebody else in my life that Zoom has a chance to hurt. I can't risk that for her. But ultimately, she does have a moment where she calls Barry and is like, hey, there's a man with a gun on the train. I need your help. And I'm just like, come on, Barry. That's too easy. He rushes right over there as the Flash, pops on the train. She's like, no, that was a false alarm. And I'm just like, girl, come on, Barry. That was stupid. But it was kind of a moment for her to say, okay, so I was right. So, kind of an interesting way to end their story together. You do hate it just because you can see that they both do really like each other. And Barry, I think he wasn't ready to admit it yet, but I do think he loved her. And now it's done because Zoom's affecting them. Zoom is in their lives, and as long as he's there, Barry can't risk Zoom hurting somebody he cares about. Oh, one second. I don't know why I'm tired. Okay. So, you do understand the reasoning behind it. You do get why he won't tell her, why he didn't want her to stay. But it still kind of sucks. It's still a moment that you're just like, why does life not work out for Barry? Just let him have a moment where he wins, But anyway, that's pretty much the end of Patty for the show right now, at least. She's moving elsewhere and probably won't see her again for a little while. Um, trying to think if there's anything else really important. That's about it. There's some stuff with Wally in this one. Uh, Apparently, Francine is very, very close to death. So it's a chance for him to say goodbye, but he doesn't want to, and so Iris kind of convinces him to. And then he asks for Iris' help, to be there when he does it. Uh, I don't really like Wally because he's that cliche son who his father wasn't there for him, and now that his father's trying to be there for him, and he doesn't want him to be. Uh, I've seen this storyline before, but in most of the storylines, it's like the father made a poor decision, and it was he decided to leave the family or something along those lines. He decided he didn't want to have anything to do with them, and so he left them. And then later on, he's like, I made a huge mistake, tries to come back in their life, and then the son's like, oh, well, I don't want you a part of this. And it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense. In this one, and then there's another, if you guys ever saw Lie to Me, one of my favorite shows. Really good show. I hate that it got canceled after only 3 seasons, but it was really good. There was an episode, though, where a kid found out that he wasn't his parents' kid. He did some DNA tests and found out he has no genetic likeness to them, and so he thinks that his parents kidnapped him from somebody else. After all of the entire story, you find out that his father was a cop, and this drug dealer kidnapped this cop's baby, and then this drug dealer's girlfriend took the baby to a hospital, and that's where these parents, just saw the baby, saw that this woman was strung out on heroin, and wasn't able to raise a child, and so they decided to take care of the kid for her. So all of that, it's like it's not the cop's fault. He was trying to be there for his son, but this drug dealer stole the kid. And then he's upset with the dad. It's like he doesn't want that to be his dad. He's mad at him for something. It's like, why, kid? It's not his fault. It's not his fault that you got kidnapped. That's. I didn't understand the kid's motivations. It's the same thing here. It wasn't Joe's fault. It was Francine's fault. Francine was the one that made those decisions, that chose to leave and leave with the baby. Joe had nothing to do with it. And it's like he blames Joe, and Joe already blames himself, which doesn't make any sense. So to have Wally blame Joe too doesn't really make any sense to me. So I don't know. His character is still just kind of frustrating. Hopefully he brings some point to the plot other than just he's there for an emotional moment with Joe. I want him to actually contribute something. Maybe he's a metahuman. That would be interesting. But for now, he's just kind of there and not really contributing much to the plot, other than Joe feels bad about not raising his son. So that's about it for this episode, though. Yeah, I do really enjoy this episode. It was interesting to see Eobard Thawne back, even if it takes a while for you to really wrap your brain around why. But it's kind of a moment for Barry to see how much he's grown. In this one, he actually takes on Eobard Thawne and wins. So it's nice to see that growth. It's nice to see him come back as Reverse Flash, and then kind of, put himself into the story. He doesn't know anybody, but everybody knows him, and he's just like, oh, so we all have a history, huh? It was kind of fun to watch. It was a good episode overall. So that's what I think about this episode. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe for more of The Flash, and I'll see you at the next review. Peace out.